In your math notebook today, turn to the table of contents. You're going to write LCD/LCM. So that stands for least common denominator or least common multiple. They're the same thing. ... Page 19. Then you're going to turn to page 19, wherever you're keeping up with the page numbers, and actually put page 19 on it. At the top, you're going to write least common denominator, and then in parentheses, you're going to put multiple. Because it could be a least common denominator or a least common multiple. They're synonyms for each other. Okay, you can call it either one. All right, now your notes today are going to be handwritten. They're not going to be anything that you glue down. So, very simple to find a least common denominator or a least common multiple. Make a T-chart and list the multiples, and multiples means skip count, of each denominator. All right, so we're going to do two examples. Our first example is going to be 1/2 and 2/3. Our second example is going to be, we have three examples, I'm sorry. 1/2 and 2/3, then we're going to do 1/2 and 3/4. And our third example is going to be 2/3 and 1/9. So, what it says is to make a T-chart and list the multiples. That's a bad looking list. List the multiples of each denominator. So first you have to know that in a fraction, the top numbers are called the numerators and the bottom numbers are called the denominators. So I'm going to make a T-chart. A T-chart looks like a T. Okay? I'm going to put 2 and 3, since those are my multiples. I'm going to skip count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, that's probably enough. Now I'm going to skip count by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. I want to look for the smallest number in both lists. The smallest number in both lists is 6. So the least common multiple, or the least common denominator, of 1/2 and 2/3 would be 6. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that least common denominator. But for right now, you just need to understand how to get the least common denominator. All right, I'm going to do the same thing with our next example. The denominators are 2 and 4. I'm going to make a T-chart. 2 and 4. I'm going to skip count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm going to skip count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. If you know your times tables, this helps for making T-charts. Now, the smallest number that happens in both lists. I have a 12 in both lists, but that's not the smallest number. I have an 8 in both lists, but that's not the smallest number. The smallest number in both lists is a 4. This is super important. A lot of kids think that you can just multiply the two denominators together to get your least common denominator. That doesn't work. It does sometimes, because 2 times 3 here is 6, and that was my least common denominator. But it wouldn't work here, because 2 times 4 is 8, and that's not the smallest one I have. You can still add and subtract fractions without the least common denominator, but it makes life a lot harder. If you take a few extra seconds to find the least common denominator before you get started with your fractions, it saves you a lot of headache in the long run. Our last one, our denominators are 3 and 9, so we're going to make a T-chart with 3 and 9. We're going to skip count by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. We're going to skip count by nines. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 63. All right. The smallest number that's in both lists, 9. Yes, you can use 9. Even though it's the first multiple, yes, you can use it. I get asked sometimes, how do I know how many multiples I have to list? You have to list enough until you find something that matches. And you have to make sure it's the smallest number that matches. So I didn't really have to list this many. I just did. You just have to list enough until you see something that matches. Now, you are going to do this page here. It says Monday. It's in your packet. You can watch the video to do problems 1 through 12 with the video, and then you're going to finish 13 through 26 by yourself, and you'll be able to look at the answer key after to check your answers. Make sure, though, that you work them out and you list your T-charts. Don't just write down a random answer. And don't just multiply the two denominators together.